Head football coach Rick Willis.
Thanks for coming today. Obviously, it's always exciting to get a new year started, and we welcomed 138 guys back to campus here about a week ago on the 20th. We reported a little bit later than we normally do because we're not playing on the 3rd of September like most teams are, the way our schedule shook out this year. But after graduating the largest senior class in our history a year ago with 31 seniors, we'll have some new faces. We'll have some new faces on our team this year. But we believe we have a hard-working group of hungry guys that reported in good shape and are really excited for their opportunity and having a chance to show what they can do. We just completed our 6th practice, so we're still kind of just getting going here, but at the same time, we're preparing for, a situational scrimmage here tomorrow with UW-Platteville, which is occurring a little bit earlier in our sequence than typical because, they play a game next week. So if we wanted to have a scrimmage, that was the only time it would work. So I can quickly just go through, some of our guys and our positions and then, be happy to see what kind of questions you might have. But on offense, we return 5 guys that started for us a year ago. But the guy we don't return is, our 4-year starting quarterback, the 2-time MVP of the Iowa Conference, Logan Schrader. So that's probably the question everybody wants to start with. And so, I'll start with that. Matt Sasha is a sophomore. He'll be our quarterback. Matt got a lot of great experience a year ago learning behind Logan. Tons of reps in practice situations and got some reps in games as well. He's a smart, versatile athlete. He's got a good arm and he's got a very accurate arm as well. So we're excited about Matt. Obviously, he's going to be gaining experience as he goes, and he does a lot of good things. And I think people will be excited about him as they watch him play. Our running back situation, 2 guys that played a lot for us a year ago behind Brandon Domeyer were Jake Haberman and Parker Hamill. And so those guys are working hard and having a good camp up to this point. We lost 6 of our top 7 receivers from a year ago. The lone guy coming back with really any catches to speak of is Riley Brockway. And so Riley will lead that group. Had a really good sophomore year. We expect him to take another step forward this year. So excited about his development and his progression. Griffin Brennick, Patrick Rooney. Patrick is the lone senior in our receiving corps, and Ben Strathman are all guys that have been traveling, been part of our group. They've just been playing behind some more experienced older players, and those are some of the guys I think that are pretty talented guys that are eager, to show what they can do. They're not necessarily young players. They're just unproven players at this point in time. Nick Wall is a younger guy, a sophomore that has progressed a lot from last year, and we expect to see him help us in the receiving corps as well. The tight ends, 2 guys working there mostly are Seth Hessness. Seth played a lot in the games a year ago, especially in our 2 tight end sets. And then Cody Williams. Cody joined us at the semester last year, and I think will be a good addition there. Our offensive line, we have 3 starters back in that group. Quincy Griffith, our center, Nolan Boyd, one of our guards, and Derek Shipper, big left tackle for us. They all played a bunch last year and started for us and should provide great leadership and great experience to that group. Hud Johnston and Justin Livingston are a couple guys that are battling for some of the other spots there in the front. A couple athletes in the offensive group that are kind of cross-trained guys right now that I think will make some contributions to what we do. Clayton Workman from Waverly here is kind of a cross between a tight end and a wide receiver. He'll do some of both. So we're trying to get him ready to be versatile in that regard. And then Michael Lincoln similarly works some as a tight end H-back and some as a running back. So those are guys that I think will help as well. Some newcomers that are likely to contribute on the offense. We'll have a couple of young quarterbacks backing up Matt Sasha. That mix is still pretty unsettled at this point in terms of who those guys are going to be. It's awful early with just 6 practices in to really know how that's going to shake out. We do have a couple transfers. Dalton Lape from North Fayette, played at Upper Iowa a year ago. He's an offensive lineman that we think can be in the mix for us there. Connor Schrader, Logan's younger brother, joined us as a running back, and we haven't got a tremendous look at him yet, but we think that he can help us some at that position. We've got a couple of outstanding young line prospects that may not be in the mix too much this year as they grow and develop, but Matt Mulford and John Patrick, two great prospects in our line in our first group, and then at our skill positions, Dylan Binion from Erie, Illinois, has had an outstanding start to the camp here. As a running back, Dennison Harrington from Cedar Falls has really shown some special attributes early in our camp as well, and then Brandon Childs from Solon has stood out. So those are some guys in the offensive group, I think, that can help us, even though they're in their first year. Defensively, again, 5 starters back. In our D-line, Joe Stearns. Joe Stearns has started 20 games for us. He started the 14 and 15 seasons, so he has a ton of experience in the defensive tackle position. Hunter Baldus and Dalton Civarelli both played a lot, have a lot of experience from a year ago. Dylan Rodemaker's a guy we moved from linebacker a year ago, hurt his foot early on, ended up missing the season. I think he'll make an impact in there for us. Blake Beckman is a converted linebacker, still getting a feel in there that I think will be in the mix. Mitch Rowe from Waterloo Columbus has come back really ready to go and is fighting for some time there. And then Mitch Schertz, a defensive end from Minnesota. Those guys are juniors, and they've been working and developing. Our linebacking group is led by Rob Rotler from North Butler. Started for us a year ago, has good experience. Brendan Schott is our middle backer, one of our captains, played behind Gunnar Tranel, has been a really good special teams player for us, has played in ball games and is more experienced than most people have probably heard of, and is a tough, hard-nosed football player. Tony Anstetter got a lot of experience a year ago, working behind Will Jansen, but playing in the kicking game in some certain situations, so he's got pretty good experience as well. And then Sam Ambrose and Mason Simon Wrestler are guys that have been in our program a while and will provide great depth there and be key factors in the special teams and all that sort of thing. Sawyer Anderson leads our DB group, he's the lone returning starter in that group. Chris McNutt and Noah Dahlstrom have had outstanding starts to their camp at our corner positions. Tyler Metcalf and Connor Frericks are working at the other safety spot, and Bryce Evans and Carter Funky are some other corners that are going to provide great depth there. Bryce is a guy we moved from offense in the spring and is learning how to become a corner. We lost both our specialists from a year ago, 2 guys that I think had started their entire career here in Grant Zimmerman and Michael Bulkey, and so we're going to be looking for some new guys to do those jobs. We have 2 kickers battling, Brayton Brandt and Jordan Johnson, and then a couple punters, Matthew Beebe and Jake Pasaric. Jake Pasaric was a tight end that also punted a year ago, and he's kind of shifted into just focusing on the punting job. A couple defensive guys. Trevor Ambrose from New Hampton was a great player at New Hampton and played all kinds of different places. We've decided to have him start at a linebacker spot, so he's working at an outside backer position. And then a couple of DBs, Eric Ramos, he's from over in Illinois, and Jacob Jake Cloft from Macokota are a couple DBs that, and along with Trevor, 3 freshmen that might be in our special teams mix and so forth. We open on the 10th at Monmouth. Then we shift back to the Iowa Conference with the newest member of the Iowa Conference at Nebraska Wesleyan on the 17th. And then we have our home opener here on September 24th versus Finlandia. The league looks to be as balanced as ever. Should be an exciting year, and we're excited about our team. You know, there's going to be a lot of new faces, and like I said, but a lot of guys that I think have been around kind of waiting for their chance. So anyway, that's kind of an overview. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Coach, is obviously you lose a lot of wide receivers and your quarterback. Is there a benefit to having kind of the backups of quarterback and wide receiver kind of grow up together? Is there continuity and then they're used to one another?
Well, you know, I think, those guys have been working together a lot. There's familiarity there. I think they believe in each other. Obviously, it's important for a quarterback to have confidence in the guys that he's working with, that those guys are going to be able to make plays, and I think Matt believes that. I think we have guys that can do that. I think our team believes Matt Sasha is going to be a very good quarterback here too, and that's important.
Again, with Sasha, talking with the guys last year, the word I guess they used a lot was catchable. He throws a very catchable ball. What are some of his other strengths as a quarterback?
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing, he's a really smart guy, and that helped him a year ago be able to adapt as quickly as he did and get into the position to be our backup, and we were able to get him all those reps because of that. So I think his intelligence and the way he studies is a big thing. But he's also, you know, a very good athlete. You know, he's probably not going to run, you know, exactly like Logan Schrader ran, and we're probably not going to utilize him exactly like that. But he's got a strong arm, and he's very accurate as a passer. I think the biggest thing is getting in game situations and allowing him to continue to develop as a decision maker. Is, you know, that takes repetitions, that takes time, and I think he'll be good at that. We just need to get him as many opportunities as possible.
Rick, starting the season as late as you are this year, is there some kind of an advantage for that for you guys? I mean, since everybody's going to have a game under the belt by the time you play them, how does that play for you guys?
Yeah, I don't know that it's an advantage. I mean, maybe it's a disadvantage. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. But, you know, the schedule shook out the way it did. We made some decisions. There's a lot of variables that go into trying to figure out, you know, what your schedule should be. And, you know, we're comfortable with what's in front of us. I think, you know, you can look at it a couple different ways. I mean, other teams are going to have played a game. It's going to be our first game. We're maybe not going to have as many practices under our belt as, you know, as we through the season. But at the same time, you know, everybody gets the same amount of practice before their first ball game. You know, that's set up. That's why we started a little bit later. So, you know, I don't think once we get going, I don't think it'll really be a factor, you know, when we started and when we didn't. You know, we're not going to have a bye week in the middle of the season. Sometimes those bye weeks are beneficial, and sometimes, you know, it's hard to, you know, you lose your momentum or something like that coming out of them.
There's been so much talk today about the recruiting aspect with Nebraska Wesleyan joining the league. On a football standpoint, has that changed your focus a little bit, or where you concentrate to get athletes?
I don't know that it will change our focus, but it might open up opportunities for us to recruit, you know, over in that direction. Some as people, as prospects and their families become more familiar with Wartburg and the schools in the Iowa Conference, might help our name recognition and that type of thing a little bit. But you know, we're excited to have Nebraska Wesleyan in the league. I mean, it's a great match from a school standpoint with the schools in our league, and they've been playing against a lot of NAIA schools previously, and so, you know, I expect for them to come into the Iowa Conference and be pretty competitive.
With the graduation of such a big class last year, can you talk about your captains and how they've stepped into more of a leadership role?
Yeah, every year those guys moving up into the senior, becoming seniors, and the captains. We have 6 captains this year. On offense, it's Jake Haberman, Quincy Griffith, and Nolan Boyd, and on defense, it's Sawyer Anderson and Rob Rotler and Brendan Schott. But we want everybody in those older, that are seniors to play a leadership role. And it is different when you have a strong group. A lot of times you don't have to take on that responsibility, and guys get used to just kind of playing the role that they have. And when they have to step up into actually speaking up, actually setting the tone for things, that's different. And sometimes it's a learned trait. Other times, it might come natural for some guys. But we talk all the time. I think every football team probably knows this, would acknowledge this, that there aren't any perfect seasons. There's always going to be challenges in a season, and those challenges can come in different ways and at different times. They might hit you, in the middle of your training camp, or they might not happen until sometime in the season. But things are going to happen that are going to test your team, and at that time you have to have enough trust between the coaches and the players, and between the players and the players, that you can weather those storms that come up. And the teams that do that the best are going to have the best chance of having success.
Coach, last year you guys only had 1 loss, and that knocked you out of the playoffs. How much has that taught you guys about the importance of playing every single week with that sharpness?
Well, there really isn't margin for error the way it's set up for us, and the way it works in the sport of football in Division III. There really just isn't margin for error. And so we understand that. Obviously, every game's important. You only play 10 games, and so there's an increased importance on each game. That's why we spend a week preparing for every one of them. I don't know that our guys were unaware of that before, but I think they certainly are aware of it now. Okay, thank you.